Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rant Line Radio, episode 624, coming to you on Wednesday, October 8th. We're going to preview a big blue blood battle between the Cardinal and Gold and the Maize and Blue at the Coliseum Saturday night, 4:30 p.m. on NBC. It's a big one. We're going to give you our predictions, our thoughts, play some over-under, and so much more. As always, you can follow us on social media at Rant of Troy, email us at rantoftroy@fansite.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227. Suck it, Whisper and Show. Wow, did we get that rusty?
Well,
the show was canceled and then came back?
Well, but because here's the thing. I had a thought in my head that they were going to be Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin, so I was going to change it to Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin. But then I remembered that I don't know what the actual title of their podcast is anymore. It's not even the What's Bruin Show. It was the What's Bruin Symposium for a while, so who knows? This is Jake's fault.
It is Jake's fault. They did used to be University of California Southern Branch at one point. They never know what their name is. Anyways, we know what our name is. We're Rant of Troy, and we're going to talk a big one, SC and Michigan. This feels like a massive, massive deal. I saw a TikTok from Max Brown today said that the next three games are basically going to determine the trajectory of USC football in the next few years. I have a hard time disagreeing with that. This is massive. You win these three games, you feel on top of the world.
Yep.
You've made up for the Illinois game. Nobody cares. And you are a legitimate, not only playoff contender, but a legitimate Big Ten title contender, right? You lose these three games, and we're talking about a coach on the hot seat. You split them where you win one and lose two. We're talking about a coach on the hot seat. A world in which SC splits them by winning two and losing one. That's probably the chalk hope for the Trojans, and just in general. I think you would take that, but even still, there will be some contextual aspects to that. If you win two of them and get blown out at Notre Dame, that is different than winning two of them and losing the other one on a field goal in the last second at Notre Dame. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There are so many iterations of how this could go.
Yeah.
And each one is very specific to the specific way that things go. Because you're right. USC wins the next three games, and USC is on track for the playoff.
Yeah.
USC loses the next three games, and like you said, we are talking about whether or not Jen Cohen needs to pull the plug.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they'll do, but that's what we're going to be talking about. And then there's that in between about who do you lose to and how do you lose, and if it's Nebraska you lose to, but you beat Michigan and Notre Dame.
Does that make it better or worse?
Does that make it better or worse?
Yeah, I don't know.
All of those. Is it just that you need to win the home game? And if you lose the road games, then you sort of just chalk it up to the road. But then, in that case, then USC is USC's road record under Lincoln Riley starts to look. It already looks atrocious, but it starts to look like a huge problem that USC can't find a way to beat good teams on the road. So it's I don't know. It feels huge. It feels bigger than it's bigger than I want it to be, because I don't think an individual result is something that we can ever, without knowing what comes after it, that we can truly judge. If USC loses this game, but then goes on to beat Notre Dame and beat Nebraska and somehow pull out an upset at Oregon, we're looking back at the Michigan game, and this blip in this part of the season is just like the struggle that USC had to grow from, or something like that. So a loss doesn't have to be the end of any hope, but the problem is just that those scenarios are so out of the out of the possibility that start to just spread out into the unbelievable. That, if you can't beat Michigan at home when the advanced stats say you're the favorite narrowly, but they do. When Vegas says you're the favorite narrowly, but they do. Mm-hmm. Like I think that we're at a point where I want to stop having to sort of highlight what is the like silver linings or like victories that
playing a team in which you're a 2.5 point favorite at home, a team that won a national championship 2 years ago, on the surface, that is a game that if it's close and even if you falter, that doesn't sound like the end of the world. The problem for the Trojans here is they've lost all the games that are in that category, and vast majority of those on the road. And so you have lost your goodwill to not do that again, right? Like, you've got to win these, right? Like, I know that we talk about like the James Franklin issue, right? Of like, can't beat Ohio State and Michigan and whatever. But like, those games against Ohio State and Michigan, they have not been favored in those. Mm-hmm. This one is at worst a coin flip. Otherwise, you're favored to win a very close game, and it's at home. Like, if you are truly a team that has taken a big step forward, this is a game that you win and you show that you have done the things, that you've dotted the I's, you've crossed the T's.
But you almost beat Michigan last year.
Yeah.
At the Big House. So if you haven't improved, I know that it's not 1-for-1 and teams change and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. They obviously have a better quarterback, and both sides have made distinct changes, but this is what you're supposed to be improving towards.
Right.
Again, we just go back to like USC didn't hire Lincoln Riley for us to be going into this game feeling like it's a mountain that USC has to climb. Yeah. Brian in the chat says that as Ed Sullivan would have said, it's a big shoe. Yeah, the shoes are about to drop, and can SC get the big one in the Big Ten? We'll see. Let's go to the news. All right, injury news. Elijah Page, USC's left tackle, questionable for Saturday, according to Lincoln Riley, but he's practicing in pads. We know that he missed the Illinois game, got hurt against Michigan State. Questionable. This is a weird one for me. I'm curious your thoughts, because obviously he's your best offensive lineman. You want him, especially against a team like Michigan, who this is the best defensive line that SC has faced all season to this point. And it might be the best one that they face all year, bar none. Mm-hmm. Oregon's probably a little bit better, but you get the point, right? But they're in the same category.
Yes. At the same time, SC managed being without Elijah Page last week very well. So
yeah,
can you continue to do that if you're without him, I guess, is a big question.
That's the thing, is like USC managed, but USC won't be able to win this game if they're managing the offensive line. They need the offensive line to play well, like objectively. So I think it is a situation where USC does need Elijah Page. USC does need to have their best offensive lineman out there. And USC does need to be as at full strength as possible to not have this become an overwhelming matchup, because, we haven't really seen Jaden Mayava running for his life yet. And, when he is put under pressure, objectively, his stats get worse. His performance gets worse. So this is a game where USC needs to give him as much protection as possible. Yeah. Because even if he is able to overcome, having a one of the disastrous offensive line performances that we saw early last season. I don't want, like, Kenny in the chat says, I'm very curious to see how Mailbag does against a defense like this. Like, I am too, but I also don't want to set him up for failure and then beat him over the head because of it. Like, I want to get a chance to see him. There's already enough hurdles that USC is going through replacing the center.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to see Jaden Mailbag given an opportunity to put on a performance against a good defense.
Yes.
And an offensive line that's falling apart because this defensive line is too good for them is it wouldn't be fair in my view.
Yeah, he's passed every test so far this year. We can be nitpicky about those 3 drives against Illinois, but I think it is nitpicky considering that statistically he's like practically the best quarterback in the country and all these things. Like, it's a little nitpicky to be nitpicky about 3 drives at Illinois, especially when he grabbed the team by the scruff of the neck and brought them back with 3 touchdown drives to end the game, right? And bring them back and get the Trojans the lead. And so, yeah, you don't necessarily need a Caleb Williams against Notre Dame 2022 performance. You don't need a Carson Palmer on the road at Autzen in 2002 type performance, but you need a reliable performance from him. And I think that's fair to ask for. And given how he's passed every test so far this year, I think it's a completely fair challenge for him to sort of get to. And his offensive line, I think, is going to have a big role to play in that. Let's talk about the defense a little bit here. Alex Graham, USC cornerback freshman, getting closer to returning. Lincoln Riley wouldn't say if he would play on Saturday. That's according to Chris Trevino of USCFootball.com.
Yeah, the return of Alex Graham has been much awaited because it looked like he was winning the nickel job after Prophet Brown went down injured, and USC hasn't had either of their top 2 nickels, and then Kevin Longstreet had an injury in the last game. Like, it's just, and Kamari Ramsey was injured, and just it's been a disaster at nickel in general in terms of luck. USC has had a great deal of bad luck there, and getting Alex Graham back, true freshman though he is. As much as I keep cautioning everybody not to put too much hope on a true freshman who's never played a college snap in his life, he is still somebody that clearly the coaches really liked and really were starting to trust even early in his career. And we've seen freshmen come in and look really good when they're, when they are ready to go. So it's sort of a delayed debut for him. It would be really nice if USC was able to get him back, just to have the option of him, maybe not even like start him or play him extensively, but just to have the option if there's opportunities or if they need a stand-in or whatever. Yeah. But I'm also not banking on it at this point because I feel like, he is practicing.
Yeah.
But also players, there's always like a ramping up sort of period, especially for a guy who's missed as many weeks as Alex Graham has.
Mm-hmm.
Just him getting back into pads, it's a good sign, but I don't know that it's I don't know that I would put anything on him playing on Saturday. I think that's what I'm saying.
It is a little unfair to put a lot of chips down on Alex Graham when you're talking about like, this is the freshman, hasn't played at this level before. And yet I think there's a lot of, but when he comes back kind of talk. And I understand that a lot of that is contextual because Alex Graham comes back, Prophet Brown comes back, one of them, if not both of them, come back. And then you're looking at the situation of like, okay, can Kamari Ramsey go back to safety? Like, I understand that is the context here, but I do think that like, that's a lot of pressure on a freshman to sort of fix all the issues, especially one that hasn't played at this level before because he got hurt before the season started. So, Trojan Fight in the chat says, I think they're holding Graham out because of limited amount of practices. Yeah, you
just usually don't see guys get thrown into live games, especially a live game against an opponent like Michigan,
Yeah.
when they've only had a week's worth of full pad practice. It just, I think an established player, maybe we could say, if this was Prophet Brown we were talking about, I might be more confident in the possibility of him playing.
Sure.
But the true freshman, I'm.
Yeah.
It would be really nice.
Stuff.
I'm just not banking on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Guys who dressed and practiced this week, Jacoby Lane, USC wide receiver, missed the Michigan State game, but he played hurt against Illinois, had 4 catches. Jakeem Stewart, Thanos, had a big... oh my God, I called him Thanos. I said I would never do it.
You did.
I know.
Giving in.
I still will only call Deion Sanders for the record. But Jakeem Stewart, Keyshawn Silver also dressed and practiced. Your thought about those guys?
Yeah, again, dressing doesn't mean you will play, but dressing is obviously a better sign than not, that you are ready to go. I think that just based on the fact that Jacoby Lane did play at the end of the last game and had the week off, I am sort of expecting him to be good to go. Not knowing exactly what the issue with Jakeem Stewart and Keyshawn Silver was, it's a little bit harder to say, but obviously USC wants those bodies available against this Michigan team. So, it's better than not having them. But there's still some, injury uncertainty that's going on with USC that isn't helped by USC's, reticence to tell us any details about what is going on with any player.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether or not that gives SC's chances higher or lower on Saturday against Michigan. I would say SC's chances much higher. And you can use your skill with higher chances over at Underdog. Football season super in the mix of it. This is the peak of football season, prime football season in the pros, in college, everything. But not only that, baseball as well. And over at Underdog Fantasy, it's my favorite fantasy app because I can play all the sports, all the teams, all my favorite sports, all my favorite teams, all together. It's just about picking whether a player will go higher or lower than their stat projections. This week over at Underdog Fantasy, I am taking Saquon Barkley higher than 0.5, half a rushing plus receiving touchdown. Any offensive touchdown of any sort with the ball in his hands. I'm taking higher on that. They play on Thursday night. And then in tonight's game for the Dodgers, I'm going lower, 7.5 strikeouts for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. 7.5 strikeouts is like a million in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. You kidding me?
Well, they have to leave you in long enough for you to get 7.
Starters in the playoffs go like 2 1/3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm taking the lower on that. You can join me over at Underdog. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code RAINOFTROY to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code RAINOFTROY. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Alabama, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Michigan, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Alicia, let's get to it. It's a big one.
Before we jump in, I mean, this could be part of the Michigan preview, but I did, before we started, I did tell you I would look up Michigan's injury news and then didn't. So I think that the big news is as far as the offensive linemen. Michigan has had some offensive linemen out. Right guard Brady Norton, left guard Giovanni El Hadid, and Hogan Hansen, who is not sure who he is, but El Hadid, the left guard, is apparently probable for Saturday, and then Brady Norton, the right guard, is like they're kind of talking about him in vague, like maybe he'll get a chance to get in there, but certainly uncertain. The college injuries, covers.com has their college injuries, have them both listed as questionable for what it's worth.
Yeah, El Hadid started in week 1 and 2 for the Wolverines against New Mexico and at Oklahoma. Since then, it's been a Phobie that's been over there at left guard. All right, let's get into the rest of the game. SC and Michigan locking horns, 4:30 p.m. on WNBC. Back-to-back weeks. SC is at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Look at that. It's got to be the first time in program history. Undoubtedly. No chance it's not. SC, of course, gets Michigan this week. Next week on the road in South Bend against Notre Dame. The Irish are next week, but the Wolverines this week. Wolverines 4-1, 2-0 in the Big Ten. Sharon Moore, second year. He's 11-6 as the head coach at Michigan. This is the first time USC and Michigan will meet since last year's 27-24 nail-biter in Ann Arbor at the Big House. The Trojans thought they had it and then didn't. The first meeting at the Coliseum since 1957.
That is wild.
Even wilder? This will be the first time SC plays Michigan at the Coliseum while wearing Cardinal helmets. They were wearing gold helmets in 1957. Only season which SC wore gold helmets was 1957, and they were god-awful, and it was like, oh, we're never going to do that again. And they gave up the gold helmets. Just like 1992. They had the crispy Tommy on the side of the helmet. Mm-hmm. We're never going to do that again. Larry Smith gets fired and everything changes there. But the Wolverines, 15th in the AP poll, 15th in the coaches poll, 13th in FEI.
The pride of FEI.
16th in FEI offense, 23rd FEI defense, 12th in FEI special teams, 16th with Jeff Sagarin. The Trojans, 2.5-point favorites here. What does Vegas know? Because SC is liked by the metric. We talked about this in the open. SC is at home, coming off of bye week. Are these all the little components in which makes sense for SC to be a slight favorite here?
Well, I just think that a lot of people are asking that question about, on paper, in terms of vibes around both programs. I think a lot of people would think that Michigan is well ahead of USC. And in fact, if you look at the advanced stats, these two teams are very, very evenly matched. They're like equal opposites to each other in some way. But yeah, they're both like ranked in all of the advanced stats somewhere between like 13 and 17. And I think that, advanced stats, we talk about them, all of these models, but the fact is that Vegas has probably the most reliable advanced stats models that exist, because it is very important that Vegas know, as much as anybody can know, which team is primed to win, and they have all of their metrics that they use. And so who they determine is favored does carry weight. Mm-hmm. And USC being favored does say something, but what it says to me is that this is an evenly matched game. This is a push. USC is favored because they're at home.
Yes.
That's basically it. It's a flip a coin game. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Michigan has to travel to California realistically probably should be the factor that decides the game. Yeah. And if it isn't the factor that decides the game, then that is because USC didn't match up with Michigan the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah. Last time a Big Ten team that has no logo on their helmets and wears blue came to California, Southern California specifically, to play a Big Ten conference game, they didn't win it. So a lot of pressure on Michigan to outdo Penn State from last week. Let's talk about this game because it's strength versus strength. I won't say weakness versus weakness. Michigan's offense is not a weakness per se, but like
they're the unknown.
The USC defense, statistically, very close to the Michigan offense, and SC's offense is an elite offense, and Michigan's defense can be an elite defense. Let's start with Michigan's offense against USC's defense. This is probably the big side of the ball here. I think we expect SC to score, but will they keep Michigan in check is the big question. Bryce Underwood, true freshman, he's looked pretty good so far. 59% completion percentage, 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, a rating of $130.1. Not asked to do too much, not making huge mistakes. I think you'd like that efficiency to be a little bit higher, but as a true freshman, and a true freshman that has had to play some tough games, they went on the road to play Oklahoma, fine. I think he's exactly where you would expect a true freshman to be. 181 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. PFF has him as a 67.0. Again, solid for a true freshman, but sort of below what Maryland's Malik Washington is at, or Notre Dame's CJ Carr, or Cal's JKS. Those are all freshmen
You're not going to try and say it?
Jaron Cave Sagapolutele.
Beautiful. Sagapolutele is an awesome name.
It's when you nail it, oh, it feels good.
My problem is how do you pronounce the pre-hyphen?
Cave.
Cave?
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if he's Hawaiian. It doesn't sound Hawaiian
but
to
the
me.
W would be
it feels like a Samoan name.
Yeah.
But the W being a V is a thing that is a Hawaiian thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like German.
Yeah.
Dirk Nowitzki. Not Dirk Nowitzki.
Mm-hmm.
Nowitzki. Yeah. Anyways, back to the other blue and gold team, Michigan. Bryce Underwood he's not a superstar yet. He's probably going to become one. Now's the time that you'd rather face him if you're USC, and especially this USC defense that is coming off of an Illinois game in which they got absolutely worked. Michigan's running back is Justice Haynes. He's pretty damn good. The top-rated Michigan player in PFF, 654 yards. He's got 8 touchdowns, yards per carry average of 7.7. The receiving core led by a duo of McCulley and Morgan. Tell me that isn't a
law firm.
A law firm.
Haynes, McCulley, and Morgan.
Yeah, and then you add Klein. Haynes, McCulley, Morgan, and Klein. Marlon Klein, the tight end.
Hey,
great name.
Underwood, Haynes, McCulley, Morgan, and Klein is also not...
That's either a law firm or an architecture firm. You take the architecture tour in Chicago and you're like, oh, this one is designed by Underwood, Haynes, McCulley, Morgan, and Klein. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about Michigan's offense, because this isn't a great Michigan offense. They're not the Michigan offense from 2 years ago that was really damn good. The one that they took to ride to the national championship. Probably the difference in the ceiling between last year's Michigan team, the year before, and even this year's Michigan team is that offense, right? But neither is USC's defense great, obviously. They just got absolutely jiggle-bagged on the road at Illinois. But when you look at the tail of the tape here, Alicia, you want to go over this? There's some... It's wild how close it is to me.
I told you I was going to put together a tail of the tape because I wanted to get a sense of where the balance was in this matchup. And as I was going through and putting it together, I was like, as far as ranks go, offensively versus defensively, it is very close.
Yeah.
So in third down conversions, Michigan, and I did Big Ten ranks because it just sort of gives us an actual better picture of what the rank actually means. And the way I'm thinking about it in my head is top half of Big Ten or bottom half of Big Ten. Mm-hmm. So third down conversions, Michigan offense is 11th, USC's defense is 12th. First downs, Michigan's offense is 12th, USC's defense is 16th. Interceptions, Michigan is first with only 1 this season, USC is 4th with 6. Passing offense, Michigan averages 200.6 for 14th. USC averages giving up 251 for 17th. Red zone efficiency, Michigan is 13th. USC is 2nd, so that's the first big differentiator. Then rushing offense, Michigan is has averages 237.8 for third in the Big Ten. USC allows 108.4 for ninth in the Big Ten. In sacks, Michigan is allowing 1 per game, fifth in the Big Ten. USC has 3.4 per game, second in the Big Ten. Scoring, Michigan is scoring 32.8, that's 10th in the Big Ten. USC is giving up 23, that's 13th. Passer rating, Michigan is 129.12 for 14th. USC is 143.04 for 13th. Total offense and defense, Michigan is 438.4 yards per game for 7th, and USC's defense is giving up 359.4 per game for 14th. So again, another differentiator.
Yeah.
And then turnovers, Michigan has 3 turnovers lost this season for 5th in the Big Ten. USC has 9 gained for 3rd in the Big Ten. So, they're pretty even until you get to total offense and defense, which is the problem that USC has had. And this was only reinforced against Illinois, that USC is giving up a hell of a lot of yards, but in the red zone, USC is getting stops. And I mean, we have now seen USC get 2 miracle goal line stands. We saw Bishop Fitzgerald, was it against Georgia Southern, or who was it that he picked off the
Georgia? He had the
like
pick
post
6 against Missouri State, and then the interception in the end zone against Purdue.
So USC has been able to get a bunch of stops.
Two interceptions in the end zone.
Yeah, 2 interceptions in the end zone. So USC has, like, as far as turnover luck goes, that's my worry, is that it feels like, without getting into the actual calculation of how turnover luck is gotten, but like in terms of vibes, it feels like USC's turnover luck in terms of red zone turnovers has been very, very high. And that I expect that sort of to come down. And that is the problem with USC giving up so many yards. But right now, those yards have more often been empty calories for the opposing team than points for the opposing team. And that went to bite USC in the butt against Illinois, because fewer of those were empty calories and more of them were actual, like, eating for Illinois. But I guess suffice it to say, like, Michigan's offense isn't that impressive, and obviously USC's defense is not impressive. But if we were sort of judging things on sort of just on a blank slate, we're talking movable object meets stoppable force. The problem here, this is where the context comes in. I think that USC should be slightly worried that Michigan's offensive numbers are skewed by Michigan's schedule so far, because Michigan has played 2 top 20 defenses in Oklahoma and Nebraska, and 3 of their 5 opponents so far were top 50 defenses. So they played some pretty decent defenses, if not just decent, some really good defenses and a decent one, and then 2 bad ones, and they, put up points on those. Whereas USC's defense, my big concern with where USC's defense is at is that, like, they've been giving up all of those empty calories and those yards and needed to sort of rely on turnovers and all of that kind of stuff against offenses that aren't that good, actually. So Missouri State, this is in FPI. Missouri State ranks 77th offensively. Georgia Southern ranks 68th. Purdue ranks 51st. Michigan 50th. And then Illinois is 13th. But only one of USC's, offenses that USC's defense has faced is like top 25 level.
Yeah.
And we saw that Illinois offense put up 32 points on USC, but as we said many times, could have dropped 50 on USC if not for a fumble at the goal line that we're still not convinced was actually a fumble, and just Eric Gentry being like Superman.
Yeah. When they should have scored on the previous play.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the question I have is SC's defense what the doctor ordered for Michigan, or is Michigan's offense what the doctor ordered for USC? In the sense that compared to Illinois, this is a defense that I think, an offense that I think is better suited for USC to be able to stop. Let me explain that, because I feel like people are jumping out of their seats, be like, yeah, but they're going to run the ball down SC's throat. Yes, but I think that there's something you can do for that.
Stack the box.
Mostly, like, Illinois' offense being so balanced and being able to beat you through the air and the ground, I think makes it very difficult for D'Anton Lynn to pick his battles here. Against Michigan, I think you can try to stack the box, try to force Bryce Underwood to throw. And even though your secondary is your weakest option, I think that is your better pathway to winning the game, right? And so, like, I think you can come up with a better game plan against Michigan. Will you have better success? That's a completely different story. But I think that there's a better chance to game plan against Michigan than there was against Illinois. So is Michigan's offense the perfect opponent for Michigan for SC's defense to get better after the Illinois game? Or is SC's defense being Swiss cheese against Illinois like the perfect opportunity for Michigan's offense to flex their muscles and say, you know what, we do have a little bit of 2023 in us?
I think that now, don't get me wrong, I am terrified of what Michigan's rushing offense could do to USC, because USC could sell out against the run like they did last year and still give up a bunch of big plays and still get burned.
Well, Tim in LA says the problem with stacking the box is once you get through that first layer, we're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Source, USC, Michigan, 2024.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I am picking up what you're putting down in the sense that USC, the one time they got beat this year, the one time the defense got absolutely shredded in a way that even the cracks that we saw in the previous games were just cracks. This was shredded, was against a veteran quarterback who's been around the block, who knows what he's about, who was comfortable and calm and collected and just shredded USC.
Yeah.
It might be what the doctor ordered to get a young quarterback who is still learning his trade, who is still developing his arm.
He's good, but he's not a pro.
No. Yeah. And it is worth noting that the two games that Bryce Underwood has played on the road thus far, against Oklahoma, obviously a very good defense, but they held him 9 of 24 for 142 yards. His passer rating was 87.2. No interceptions to his credit, but no touchdowns. Yeah. His completion, he couldn't complete a pass to save his life. And then against Nebraska was another, his second worst performance of the season. 12 of 23, 52.2% completion percentage, 105 yards passing, 4.6 yards per attempt, 90.52 passer rating. So the two road games, now granted, Oklahoma and Nebraska objectively have better defenses than USC.
Yeah. But they're also their biggest two opponents that they've played.
Yes, and those were both on the road, and those were both games in which Bryce Underwood was asked to do more because of the context of those games and struggled. And I think both of those teams, now I didn't watch either of those games super closely, but my guess is that both of those teams went out of their way to try to force Michigan to throw the ball. And, that is a tactic that I think is obviously the way you go about dealing with this Michigan team, especially with a freshman quarterback. Yeah. And it worked for Oklahoma, and it almost worked for Nebraska. The great equalizer being, Bryce Underwood can run, and he did against Nebraska, and I think that was ultimately the difference. Where Oklahoma, he had -1 rushing yards. Against Nebraska, he had 8 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I think that there is a recipe here to figure it out and to get enough stops that you can win the game by just making the freshman quarterback look freshman. Mm-hmm. The problem is that you still have to do that, and you still have to get, you only turn Bryce Underwood into the quarterback that he was against Oklahoma and Nebraska by getting pressure. And what was the problem last week or 2 weeks ago is that USC didn't get any pressure. So then it comes down to which was the truth. Was the first 4 games the truth, or was the 5th game the truth as far as what USC's pass rush is?
Yeah, SC's pass rush was brilliant the first 4 games of the year, even on the road at Purdue, which Purdue looks like they've got a heartbeat in the Big Ten. So like they're not the doormat that they were last year. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games, but like they're a tough team to play, right? And SC got a bunch of tackles for loss in that game. Got after Ryan Brown, got a bunch of sacks, and then did not do it against an Illinois team that had given up 7 to Indiana the week before. So yes, I think this is a big determining factor about the pass rush. Can they, not just the pass rush, but like the front in general, can they have any sort of success against an offensive line that is potentially without their left guard and all that kind of stuff? Like, can they perform like they did in the first 4 games versus the last one? Because if you're truly going to say that, like, the Illinois game was 9 a.m. on the road and it's,
everybody was sick.
Like,
yeah.
That
then you got to show up this time.
Only works if you pay it off for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to pay it off and prove that was the case.
Especially against this offense, because, if USC came back and the first game that they were playing was, against, I think Notre Dame is coming together under CJ Carr, or Oregon or whatever, like an offense that really knows what they're about. Mm-hmm. Then I would be a little bit more, forgiving if the defense was still not quite at the level that needs to be at the level USC needs it to be, but I could understand it better where this, like you said, like this offense, it has areas where it could tear USC apart, but there are areas where USC can strategically target and give themselves a chance here defensively. And if they aren't able to do that against an offense that is, I think capable on its day, but certainly not, this is not a super balanced elite level offense at this point. I think they certainly have the possibility to become that once Bryce Underwood gets, more time under his belt and they start unleashing him a little bit. But right now they're basically last season's offense with a quarterback who can at least attempt to throw the ball as compared to what Michigan was putting out there last year. So, I think
they're not one-dimensional.
It's not the worst matchup USC could have gotten coming out of the bye. But like in that sense, that means I'm going to be judging USC more harshly if the same issues are there, because then you can't complain about all of the circumstances around the Illinois game if the results remain the same.
100%. And yes, it's not that Michigan's offense is exactly what the doctor ordered. It's that Illinois was so bad and such a, in hindsight, maybe a horrible matchup that like anything's better at this point. Let's flip the side of the ball and talk about Michigan's defense and USC's offense. This is strength on strength. USC's offense, all the metrics, all the numbers have SC in the upper echelon of teams both on the ground and through the air on offense. Michigan's defense has a lot of things going in their favor that you like to see. Their front is nasty. Their pass rush is great. Their defensive numbers against the run are good. Michigan 4th nationally in yards per carry allowed at 2.41. The crazy thing is, I saw that and I'm like, okay, how much of that is sacks and everything? Like, how true of a yards per carry is that, right? I looked up the numbers. The running backs, I looked at only running backs facing them so far this year have run the ball 100 times. Opponent running backs, exactly 100 carries, 298 yards. Running backs averaging 2.98 yards per carry. That is wild. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska, 19 carries, 65 yards. Dylan Jones from Wisconsin, 17 carries, 63 yards. Those were the two guys that ran on them the most. And they were, in the threes in yards per carry, right? So Wayman Jordan, if he's as good as we think he can be and is, he's going to really have to prove it in this game, along with Eli Sanders and SC's run offense. And then you look at the yards that Michigan has given up on the ground. It's quarterbacks. John Mateer had 82 rushing yards on 17 sack-adjusted carries. Central Michigan's Angel Flores, 17 carries. 76 yards and 9 sack-adjusted carries. So, they will give up yards to a quarterback who has to run on as a scramble or a design run or whatever, but the running backs themselves are not gaining anything. If you're SC, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think obviously you need the offensive line to play well. It just starts there. Yeah. If your offensive line doesn't play well, your run game is just going to be in trouble. And if your offensive line isn't playing well, you're going to have to get cute and creative to create something with your run game. And I do think USC has set up some of those plays this season already. We've seen them do that little screen with the two offensive linemen who drop for the running back. And we've seen them get the running backs the ball out on the edges and sort of try different things like that. But you don't want to have to be doing that in order to create some sort of run game. You want to be able to run in between the tackles, and USC is pretty decent at that if the offensive line is obviously doing their job. So it does start there. But I also think that if USC finds success in the run game, it will simply be because Riley's run scheme is really good, the run scheme seems to set up offensive linemen and running backs to have success.
The numbers say that. SC is number one in the Big Ten in yards per carry at 6.4, number one nationally in rushing success rate, number one in stuff rate, number one in power success rate, fourth in line yards, eighth in second level yards. Wayman Jordan's worst games this season, were Purdue and Illinois. He gained 171 yards at a 4.5 yards per carry clip. If he does that against Michigan, that is if he has 80 yards at 4.5 yards per carry against Michigan, that is far and away what Michigan would have given up to this point from a running back, right? So if anyone's going to run against Michigan, well, it's going to be SC because they've got the scheme that works that way. But you always have the question, can SC win their man-to-man battles on the line? Can you avoid your physical beats? Can you do all those kind of things?
It's the physical beats that I worry about.
That was a struggle last year in Ann Arbor.
And also, I think you need to, as an offense, be able to not let Michigan pin their ears back and get after the quarterback and, stack the box and all of that thing. You need to be able to, because this is the thing, is the difference between USC's offense and Michigan's offense is no defense out there wants to beg USC to throw the ball against them. That's not really what you want to do, because guess what? Mayava and Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane and the tight ends, that is not a matchup you want to invite upon yourselves.
Right.
So that balance is USC's strength, but that balance only exists if you are able to, when you need to throw, when you are in throwing opportunities, you are able to actually complete those passes and actually give your quarterback time to get the ball out. And my worry here is that if USC drops back to pass and Michigan just absolutely destroys USC's offensive line and Jaden Mayava is running for his life, it becomes a hell of a lot easier for Michigan to say we're going to sell out against the run, because when they drop back, our defensive linemen are winning their individual battles, and we don't even need to send blitzes to upset the quarterback. That's just sort of the way that the matchup is going to be. So It does come down to USC's offensive line in those individual matchups. And, I don't know if Elijah Page isn't out there, it's a little bit scary what USC continue. I mean, I think USC's offensive line has performed far better than I expected them to. I think they've been They've done an admirable job in most of the games. They've been completely functional for the most part. Maybe not great, but certainly functional. My worry continues to be is what happens when they go up against a defensive line that makes them non-functional. And Michigan's defensive line is one of those ones that could push that button.
Yes.
And then everything that USC has gotten out of Jaden Mayava, everything that USC has gotten out of Wayman Jordan and Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane and Lake McCree and all that, like it almost becomes, it just goes up in flames if the offensive line isn't able to at least stably support what USC is doing. And we saw this last year against Michigan is, in the end, USC's offense, Miller Moss is not Jaden Mayava the way he's playing this year, but Miller Moss was running for his life, and USC could do very little right in that game offensively.
Yeah, Les in the chat is adamant that SC won't be able to run the ball in Michigan because SC just has inflated rushing numbers against Georgia Southern, Missouri State, and Purdue. That's a fair assessment.
USC last year ran for 290 yards for 6.3 yards per carry. No, sorry, that was Michigan.
Hold on.
No, that was USC.
No, I got you right here.
Okay.
Last year, SC's offense, rush offense, against the two toughest teams they played at home, which is where this game is played, Penn State and Notre Dame. Two teams that were playoff teams, two teams that had lauded defensive fronts. Penn State, SC ran for 7.8 yards per carry. Notre Dame ran for 7.04. At Michigan, SC was at 5.57 yards per carry. A game in which they got sacked a million times, mind you, so that affects those numbers. The 4.57 yards per carry that SC had at Michigan last year, the only two teams that ran better were Oregon and Illinois. It was way better than Ohio State, way better than Alabama. Like, yeah, I get it. I get the sort of myopic view here that Michigan big, Michigan strong, USC soft, USC weak. Like, I think you can say that about USC's defense. You people need to stop saying that about SC's offense, because even in the games where SC should get blown off the ball, SC hasn't been getting blown off the ball even in the Big Ten. SC's going to score points. SC loses this game if they give up points.
Yeah, and
that's just what the Lincoln Riley era is, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's obviously been the problem. But I think that Lincoln Riley's rushing attack is heavily underrated, in part because Lincoln Riley underrates his own rushing attack, and that is really frustrating half of the time. But it is a strength of this team. I think USC's last two offensive lines have looked so much more comfortable when they are asked to run the ball, when they're asked to be aggressive and go out and get downfield and block somebody. Mm-hmm. USC's got some guys who can move pretty well, so when they pull them, it kind of works, and the strength is there. The weakness on this is the offensive line pass blocking, and it has been. That's not to say that USC is incapable of being stuffed or whatever. Yes, they've gotten stuffed, they've had their moments and everything like that, but I think more often than not, if USC committed to the run, given the running backs that they have and given the way that the offensive line takes to running the ball, I do think USC would have success against most defenses because of the scheme and because of the comfort level. But again, like I said,
at least moderate success.
Moderate success, yeah. The problem becomes you still need a balanced offense in order to pull that off.
Yes.
And I think USC's problem has been when they've allowed so much pressure that their quarterback can't do much, then whatever success they hope to have against an opposing team.
That's a big issue here, right? Because SC's ability to run the ball is predicated on the pass game working, right? Like, I know that there's a lot of people that want SC to run more, and all that stuff. And I get it. I totally get it. At the same time, like, the reason that SC's numbers are absurd in per play rushes and all this stuff, like success rate and stuff rate and all that kind of stuff, the reason they're number one in the country in all those numbers is because they don't run the ball as much as Michigan does, right? It's all about getting numbers. It's all about forcing teams to have light boxes and being smart with where you're going. And when SC is on their game, That's what they're doing. They are throwing to guys who are schemed open. They are running in wide open running lanes. They are putting the defense in conflict, and that's what Lincoln Riley is really good at. So you need to rely on your strength and be good at that and circumvent any sort of maybe physical issues that you have against a defensive line from Michigan that's going to have, edge rushers like Jayshon Barham, who's got 3 sacks on the season already. Derek Moore, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Like this is the biggest challenge SC has faced in terms of a pass rush and defensive line all season. You've got to find a way to not let that be an issue. I think the Michigan game last year is a prime example. That was a game where SC was blown off the ball in the first half, right? The second half, they found a way to make it work despite having issues, right? Like, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't the free-flowing offense that SC had against Penn State and Notre Dame, but they were still successful in that second half to gain a lot of yards, to move the ball and put themselves in position to win the game. It came down to making a play on defense, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, and I think that this game, given we've talked about how evenly matched these teams are, I think this game will come down to, and this is, you could probably say this about every game, every single game, but especially in a game where things are as evenly matched as this, it will simply come down to which individuals make the plays and which individuals don't.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I also mean the individuals like Lincoln Riley as a play caller and Danton Lynn as a defensive play caller, and on the other side, Sharon Moore and his staff. Up and down, this game might be decided by a singular or just, 1 or 2 individual plays, in much the same way last year's game was decided by, that one Kamari Ramsey missed tackle.
Yeah.
Changes the game. But in the Illinois game, there's another ways going back and forth on that in terms of the singular plays that decide a game. As an aside, semi-related to this, but I do think this is a game where USC is most likely to pull out some tricks. And I would not be surprised, given that we saw Hassan Longstreet against Illinois come out and, go under center and run some read options. I wouldn't be surprised if they were setting up something with Hassan Longstreet.
Yeah. That's interesting because he did come in for a play against Illinois, right?
He had 2 I remember 2. One of them was...
They also ran the trick play that would have scored the touchdown if not for the illegal man downfield against Illinois, too.
Yeah.
And there's been a bit of razzle-dazzle fun stuff. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. Other thing about Michigan's defense before we get to over/under, there's a comment in the chat about Michigan fans saying that their pass defense was poor. I don't think their pass defense is poor, but I think they are susceptible to giving up yardage there, and that could also just be a factor of teams are not wanting to run into the teeth of the Michigan defense. They're going to want to throw. We saw that with Nebraska. Dylan Raiola, in a losing effort, had a bunch of production against them. Mm-hmm. Nebraska's offense as a whole wasn't exactly efficient or successful, but Dylan Raiola in that game still completed 73% of his passes, threw for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. Both John Mateer in Oklahoma and Dylan Raiola had over 7.5 yards per attempt. 7.5 isn't going to light the world on fire, but it's moderate success, right?
But I don't.
In a game like this, you need at least moderate success.
I don't think it's a coincidence that those 2 games are the 2 best quarterbacks that Michigan has played so far.
Yeah, both on the road.
Yeah,
and here's SC, another one. I think that you put Mailbag in the Raiola and Mateer category of
absolutely.
Capable quarterback, absolutely. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's get to over/under.
So you're going over.
I'm going bold. I got to take an under here. I got 3 unders to take. I'm going to do an under here.
All right, let's get to over/under here. The link is in the show notes, in the doobly-doo. Go click it there. Maybe Elisa can throw it in the chat as well. We start with the first line. Over under 5.15 Michigan's rushing average. In terms of yards per carry, they're averaging 6.39 yards per carry, which is really damn good. They had 4.56 against OU, 8.67 in Lincoln against Nebraska, and there you go, and 5.15 against Wisconsin. SC's allowing 3.5 yards per carry. That's not terrible on the surface, but they have given up drives where the run game has been an issue. It might just be, for Michigan State, it was that one drive where they sort of turned the game around. For Illinois, it was a nice mix and match for the Illini until they fumbled. But SC allowed 1.86 yards per carry to Purdue, 3.5 to Michigan State, 4.89 at Illinois last week. Last year, Michigan averaged 6.3 against the Trojans in Ann Arbor. Over under 5.15 Michigan's rushing average. That's what they had last week against Wisconsin.
I can't in good conscience do anything but over here. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I could imagine there being an issue of just Michigan running the ball too much, and so the efficiency goes down while still having success. But I do not trust USC's run defense in the slightest. I do think that we could see a major improvement from USC secondary this week, given that you get Kamari Ramsey back, given that they had 2 weeks to sort of figure it out, self-scout and maybe figure it out a little bit better. But USC's run defense, I don't think anything changes from where USC was. I mean, maybe it does. I don't like the matchup.
Yeah. So you're going over?
I'm going over.
Okay. I am going to go under, but slight, very slight. I think Michigan's absolutely flirting with 5 yards per carry. The thing here, I think the yards per carry will be the barometer for Michigan's rush success. If they have 800 yards in this game, but you hold them to 2 yards per carry, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's the yards per carry that's going to be the important thing. Mm-hmm. If you hold them to under 5, I think there's a very good chance that you can win the game.
Yes.
So I think it's about just about 5 on the nose. So just a slight under from me. Let's go to the second one. 78.5, over under 78.5 USC penalty yards. That's USC's average so far this season. Michigan opponents are only averaging 20.6 yards per game with penalties, and Michigan themselves average 38.2. But 78.5 USC penalty yardage. I like going yardage here than total penalties.
Well, I got burned last time on total penalties, and I fully expect to get burned again on penalty yards here by USC having 77. But I am taking the over here because, again, I cannot in good conscience pick anything but the over. USC has given us no indication that they can keep the penalties under control. And for the record, I just want to put it out there. I am not somebody who thinks that there is a massive correlation between penalties or penalty yardage and winning. Because I grew up in
the timeliness of it.
I grew up in the Pete Carroll era, where those were some of the most penalized teams in the country every single damn year, and they were also some of the best teams in the country every single damn year. So, I think that there's only so much correlation that you can put in there. Having said that, like you said, it is the timing, it is the consequence, and the more penalties you pick up, the more opportunities there are for those penalties to be of consequence, i.e. the illegal man downfield that took away a touchdown that arguably could have won the game for USC in the end against Illinois. So, yes, penalties do matter. I don't think they're necessarily a reflection of whether or not you have a good team or a bad team, but I do think they do occasionally contribute to wins and losses. So,
yeah, I've been telling my therapist for a long time, Darnell Bing's penalty against Texas in the final drive, that did matter. Mm-hmm. Did matter. I'm taking the over here. Taking the over. I'm going to match you there. Brad Keller, big strikeout with the bases loaded. Get the Cubs out of the 8th, by the way. Beautiful. 4-3, going to the bottom of the 8th. Still squeaky bum time.
It's not a position. I mean,
squeaky bum time.
Better than the alternative position, but also definitely squeaky bum time for you guys.
Yeah, we're We're moist over here. Let's go to next one. 151.6 Jaden Mayava passer rating. This is an interesting one. That was his passer rating against Illinois. That's high, by the way. Like this, it sounds scary high, but that was his passer rating against Illinois. Dylan Raiola from Nebraska had a passer rating of 155.54, which would be the over for this. That was the season high that Michigan allowed against anybody.
That's
so
with
far
Michigan
this year.
getting 7 sacks on Raiola too.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Sorry, I said 100% again, and I know that Marcelo loves when I say that. Mayava being touted as one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year is a thing, and I think it's earned. At the same time, like, what he does in this game will be huge in sort of setting the narrative going forward, right? So 151.6 over under Jaden Mayava's passer rating.
I really want to take the over here. I really do. I want to take the over. But I was too positive and optimistic last week, so I'm just gonna give in to the pessimism and take the under.
Okay.
I think it's likely that Mayava will probably have a turnover of some kind in this game, whether it's an interception or a fumble or something like that. I do think you sort of have to bake that in, as well as he's been playing.
Fumble wouldn't count, but yes,
that's true. But as well as he's been playing,
affects your confidence.
An occasional interception is just the reality of somebody who's going to be throwing the ball as often as he will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't trust USC's offensive line to make it easy for him. I don't trust the offensive line, and we have seen him when he sort of gets rattled, it takes him a drive or two to get things back under control. And if the offensive line is not giving him time to get things back under control, then it could spiral a little bit. So, I'm taking the under unhappily because I really do like Jaden Mayava, and I want to believe in him, and I do think he's perfectly capable of putting in a performance that launches him up into like Heisman consideration. But I also think that Mayava needs help from his friends, and I don't trust his friends.
The offensive line.
Yeah.
I feel like skill position players are your friends.
That's true.
Your offensive line is
if the tight ends
your family.
Catch the passes that they were catching last week, and if Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane make the plays that we know they can. Sorry, but yeah.
I'm taking the over strictly because I decided I was going to counter you here. Because I think there's very good arguments for both over and under on this.
Yeah.
There are for most of these things.
He could post a 145 and USC could win.
Yes. You could post it for 145 and we could walk away saying that, like, damn, that was a good game for him.
Yeah.
Or he could post a 160 and throw the game losing interception at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff obviously can be true. But I'm going to take the over just because you didn't. So we'll go there. Next one is tight end catches. 4.5. It's 4.5 because against Michigan State, 4. Against Purdue, 4. Against Georgia Southern, 4. At Illinois, 7 for the tight ends. Big game last week for Walker Lyons and Lake McCree. Where do you have on tight end catches?
I am so torn on this one. I keep going back and forth because here's my back and forth on this. I think that the 7 from last week could simply be a reflection of Jacoby Lane not playing in the first half and or being limited.
Yeah.
And after Makai Lemon, the most trusted option after Jacoby Lane, who's not available, is Lake McCree. And so I think that there were probably more targets for Lake McCree in this game than there would have been otherwise because Jacoby Lane would have been getting those targets throughout the game, or at least would have sort of had things tried to be funneled his way.
Yeah.
So it could just be the personnel that was available. On the other hand, I think that Jaden Mayaba has shown a comfort level with his tight ends. He has been using them as a safety blanket. He has been trusting them to make the tough catches. And I think that a quarterback who has a tight end as a safety blanket is probably going to tend to go back to them a lot, especially in a game where potentially they're being pressured and potentially there's, pressure in his face a lot of the time, and he just needs to throw it, get rid of the ball. And a lot of times the routes that tight ends are running are the kind that are like escape routes for the quarterback. So in a game where I expect there to be a lot of pressure on Jaden Mayaba, maybe I should expect more catches for the tight ends.
Yeah, I think that's all valid talk. You're taking the over? Is that what you're doing? Or the under? What did you say?
I can't decide.
Going to the 9th, by the way. I'm taking the under.
I was about to say I'm going to take the under, and that's really just reverse psychology because I feel like if I take the over, I'm dooming them to be under. So I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under because Jacoby Lane is back. He was back last week. He played injured, which was crazy. He had 4 catches last week.
And it was funny the way he played injured, too, because it was the kind of injured where it was very clear that he should not have been playing.
And I'm going to do the thing that you do in college football 26 where you catch the ball and you just immediately go down. Don't hit me.
Yeah, he was literally out there pressing the X button to just catch and go down.
Yeah, smart thing
very
to do.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was kind of funny. Yeah.
Like, I caught it and I'm out of bounds. Yeah. But Jacoby Lane, two more weeks.
He played that
of
game
recovery.
like he was wearing a yellow injured jersey,
and he still made 4 catches. Yeah. So he's back. I think it's another week of development for Tanuk Hines as well. I just think that it would be fun if the over hit, but I would just go with the trend, which is 4. So under for me on 4.5 tight end catches. Let's get to the penultimate over under, which is 50.5% 4th down conversion rate for Michigan. The Wolverines are 133rd in FBS on 4th down. They are 1 of 5, just 20%. That sounds great for USC. Until you realize that SC is 123rd in defensive 4th down rate at 75%. 6 of 8 for the opponents have been successful. Something's got to give. Something's got to give on 4th down. So 50.5 is the line. Will Michigan be over 50% is the question.
Smashing that over.
Smashing the over.
Difficult as the last one was to make a choice, this is the easiest over-under we've had all season.
Wow.
Smashing that over. The last thing in the universe I'm going to trust is USC's 4th down defense.
Okay, I'm going to take the under strictly because this is 50.5 and not 49.5.
That's fair. Yeah, 50.5 is
1 of 2.
That means they need to
does not get the over
go for it like 3 times in order to.
They need 2 of 3. Yeah. So I'm going to take the under. But just because I think it could be 1 of 2. It could be 2 of 4. That would still be under and still be damning for SC to give up some 4th down. So I'll take the under there. Let's get to the last one.
Ilium says, I'm shocked it's only 78%. I swear to God, I don't remember the 2 that they did get stops on. So this season. Who knows?
I don't remember off the top of my head. But one of them, there was another one that SC got that was called back for a penalty.
Of course.
So there was technically 3, kind of, sort of, not really. All right, last one, sacks for Michigan, 1.5. 1.5 Michigan sacks. It's not a lot, but they had 7 at Nebraska. But they've had no more than 3 in any other game. So half their sacks came in that game on the road in Lincoln against Dylan Raiola. That sounds scary, absolutely. But this is also a USC team that has given up 4 all year. They allowed 2 at Purdue and no more than that. It was 1 against Illinois and I think 1 against, was it Missouri State? I don't know. Either way. 1.5.
I'm going to take the over on this one. If it was 2.5, I would probably take the under.
Okay.
it's not that I think that Michigan is going to do to USC what they did to Nebraska, in the sense that I think Jaden Mayava is a more mature quarterback than Dylan Raiola at this point. And has I think the 7 sacks for Dylan Raiola against Nebraska are probably more of a reflection of Dylan Raiola not getting rid of the ball or sort of trying too hard to extend a play and then taking a sack than just 100% Michigan just, bearing down on his face and getting it in the first 2 seconds of the play. Where I think that one thing we've seen from Jaden Mayava this year is escapability and also decision-making in terms of, okay, I escaped, now I'm just going to toss it or take the underneath, just get rid of it and not take the sack. So that's the other problem, is that I think that USC sack numbers this year are as much a reflection of the quarterback's good decision-making as the offensive line's ability to protect the quarterback, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I'll take the over. I don't think it's going to be like 5, but I do think it'll probably be 2 or 3. And I feel pretty confident about that.
I'm going to take the over 2 because it could be 2. Yeah. It could be 2. I think
very easily be 2.
Yeah. So I felt like 2.5 was a little high, just given how SC hasn't given up more than 2.
Yeah.
But 1.5 feels low. So I'm going to take the over on that as well. All right, let's get to game predictions. SC is favored by 2.5 in Vegas. The FEI projection,
the pride of FEI,
has SC winning this 31-30 with a 53 win probability percentage. 31-30, please make sure that you are taking your fluoxetine. Maybe some L-theanine too. I think that would help.
Maybe do your like CBD and breathing exercises before, and a nice meditative, like
a calming
meditation.
Treat, like
you have a
like
calming treat like we give the dogs.
Yeah.
Good Lord. I don't like this. I want to believe in USC. I see all the reasons why USC could win this game. I don't think it's impossible for USC to win this game. I do think USC is, 1 or 2 really good plays from USC's best players, like Jaden Mayava or Mekhi Lemon or Eric Gentry or Bishop Fitzgerald or Cam Crawford, away from winning this game. I think it is a winnable game for USC.
Mm-hmm.
My problem remains that I don't trust USC. And I want to, certainly at home, but I don't trust USC in a game that I think we can all acknowledge is a push. Because if I have to choose in the push, I would love to have that decided by the home factor.
Mm-hmm.
I normally I would let that be decided by the home factor. But in this case, I am siding with, or rather against, USC's ability to finish, because I still don't know that we have seen, well, I know we have not seen USC finish against a really good opponent that makes it hard for them to finish.
Yeah.
So I'm going Michigan 28, USC 24, and I think it'll go down much like the Illinois game, where USC scores and then Michigan gets the last. It comes down to who has the ball last.
That's very fascinating because it is a good pick. I think this is easily a game that's a field goal or less. It's the only games SC plays. Like that's just what it's going to be. I think the question here is who has the ball last, or who's driving before then, or whatever it is. Because if we're talking about who has the ball last, I think I like SC's chances in this game. Because I like Mayava more than Underwood to make that drive. And the difference in kicking, by the way, could determine my pick here. Ryan Sierra, 8 of 9 for field goals. Michigan's Dominic Zvara, 8 of 11. So he's missed 3. Ryan Sierra has missed 1. Splitting hairs, not a lot of difference there. But so I think maybe the edge is SC, even though Sierra is, the range is not something that they've really tested there. So take that for what it's worth. I think that this is a game that's decided absolutely late in the fourth quarter. I'm going to take SC in a very close one. I think I'm going to be lame and take the FEI projection. 31-30. 31-30 sounds right to me. Is that crazy? I mean, it's not. I mean, the numbers say it's not. Might be lame to just steal their prediction, but 31-30 for me.
But it's a good prediction.
31-30.
I think there's a universe where, my projection, there's a universe certainly where we're in late in the fourth quarter and it's Michigan 28, USC 24.
Yes.
And we get to 31-30.
Mm-hmm.
Or something close to it.
Yeah. 100%.
With 1 extra or 2 extra drives.
Yeah. Ring up the ticker on the 100%. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to the mailbag, shall we?
You've got mail.
All right. Start with an email from John in Oakland. Hi, Alicia and Michael. Pretty underwhelming season so far. This feels more like a repeat of last year. Is ahead 7-5. Why is Lynn and his staff not being held accountable for how bad the secondary plays and their inability to recruit top talent out of the portal to fix it? What do you really think of Danton Lynn? Is he really the answer for USC's defense, or should Riley look for another rebuild on that side of the team in order to keep his $10 million job after this season? How would you grade each defensive unit and the assistant coach this season compared to last season? Improved, same, worse, etc. Depressing weeks ahead. Fight on, John in Oakland. First of all, our episode on Monday was a Rotometer episode where we went through and talked confidence vibes. The Rotometer isn't a 1-for-1 in how are these units doing in whatever.
It's just vibe, how confident we are in them.
Yeah, it's how confident we are in them. So I think you could go listen to that. It's like a 2-hour episode. It's crazy. But go listen to that because we do get into a lot of these things there. But at least to John's first point here, why is Lynn and his staff not being held accountable for how bad the secondary plays and their inability to recruit top talent out of the portal and fix it?
Well, I mean, I would ask, are they not being held accountable? Because I think the fan base certainly has had a lot to say.
What does accountable mean in this instance?
Lincoln Riley himself said after the game that the defensive performance was not acceptable. So, I think that...
Does being held accountable mean literally, fired whenever it happens?
Yeah, that's not...
Because I don't know that's not necessarily realistic here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think accountability sort of comes in different ways, but in the middle of the season, accountability is hard to sort of gauge. But Riley has not been shy about saying that what they've seen from the defense thus far is not at the level that they need them to be at. And my hope would be that behind the scenes that they've spent this bye week holding the staff, the defensive staff and players and all of that accountable in terms of the approach that they're doing, their preparation, their tactics, their practice, every element of it. If they can figure something else out, then they should be trying to do that. The inability to recruit top talent out of the portal is, I would argue, probably not a Danton Lynn issue, in the sense that we know that philosophically USC has changed its stance on the portal and has gone all in on high school recruiting and was wanted to be much less reliant on the portal this time around. Mm-hmm. I have said that I think that Lynn and Riley should have recognized the gap that they had at linebacker specifically, and gone out and got somebody. And maybe they did try and just couldn't find anybody, or, I don't know what kind of linebackers were and weren't available, but them not getting a middle linebacker I think has hurt USC. The misses that they've gotten at DB have been very frustrating, but I will also say that I think at the time we were all very happy with the additions at DB. So I think it's not necessarily, now I think you can criticize their maybe evaluation, but I think that it would be disingenuous for us to sit up here and say like, they totally got it wrong, and they should be slated for it, when we were all calling DJ Harvey a really good get, and we were all calling Jason Johnson a really good get. So, and Jason Johnson's been injured, but he was bad before he was injured. So who the hell knows? So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that like the recruiting of talent is. They got Jakeem Stewart, like they have brought in talent. It's a question of what they're doing with the pieces that they currently have. What do I think of Lynn? I think he has a lot of potential, but I also think that USC took a chance on a first-time defensive coordinator who had one good year and had never had to run a defense that didn't have NFL level pass rushers, And so USC took that chance, and I think it's I don't like to say it, because I do think there's too many people see potential in D'Anton Lynn for that not to be the case. But I do think USC is again dealing with putting coaches in a position where they have to learn on the job via like speed bumps and stuff. Like Lincoln Riley is the same thing. Lincoln Riley, having taken over an established program, was finding plenty of success there and stability. And USC brought him in and asked him to do a job that he had never done before, which is to rebuild a program. And so USC is now stuck in this purgatory that I've been talking about for a decade now, where USC is asking too many people to be learning on the job. And Lincoln Riley is learning on the job about how to build a program. And D'Anton Lynn is learning on the job about how to adapt a defense to the personnel that he has and the strengths and weaknesses that he currently has. He's never had to deal with, what do I do if my middle linebacker isn't good enough and I have no one else to replace him with? What do I do if my corners are all chickens running around with their heads cut off and I have no one else to replace them? Like, I think he's learning on the job, unfortunately. That doesn't mean he can't figure it out, but that is the reality in my view.
I hear you. I hear about the learning on the job thing. I don't care about that, to be honest. He's got so many dudes on that coaching staff who has a ton of experience. Also, like we've talked about before, the best hires at like every level of unless you go out and you get the modern day version of a Monty Kiffin, of a Buccaneers Monty Kiffin, or you go out and you get Nick Saban 10 years ago or whatever, like everything is a risk. Mm-hmm. Every coaching hire is a risk. And the ones that end up being the most successful tend to be the riskiest hires anyways, because they are the Dan Lannings, the Kirby Smarts. These guys came from these guys were learning as head coaches on the job, but they also had to learn as on the job on the defensive side of the ball. And like both those guys had the benefit of the doubt of like doing it underneath a defensive coach, I think, which absolutely helps him. And I think, if anything, I think it's hard for D'Anton Lynn to be the defensive coordinator under an offensive coach and have everything on your shoulders there. But like I said, he's got a coaching staff. Doug Belk was a defensive coordinator before. Like, there's a lot of dudes on this. Hendy, like, won a Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean?
But he was a position coach.
Ryan has several million years of being a defensive coordinator.
But it's also his first time coaching college football.
Yes. What I'm saying is, like, I don't think we can just say that he's learning on the job and therefore, like, it's always going to be hard. Like, you can learn on the job and have success.
Yes. No, I'm not saying that I'm not making an excuse. I feel like it's an explanation for why things are the way that they are. And it's, people can be learning on Dan Lanning was learning on the job and still winning, 11 games a season.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I'm
not using it as an excuse. It's my explanation for why things are the way that they are.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't know that is the explanation. That's I guess what I'm saying here. I think I'm with you that it's very hard to sit here and say that the transfer portal is the issue when A, those were all transfers that we lauded at the time, and B, I think the difficult thing about the transfer portal is you can only buy what's on the shelf.
Yeah.
And so I don't follow enough of the national college football world close enough. I'm not your Ivan Maisel or your Bruce Feldman to know everything and sit here and say like, well, there was this guy that, transferred from, Fairfield State and he went to, Wisconsin and he's been their leading tackler and they should have gone out and got him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So it's hard to sit here and say who they should have gotten because I can't tell you if there was a guy or there wasn't a guy. But I think for me, the biggest issue has been the lack of changes in the middle of a game. Because we've talked about before, I can understand Danton Lynn playing the percentages and wanting to play back and wanting to play soft and wanting not to put too much pressure to win like man coverage battles and all that kind of stuff and be too aggressive when you have your corners struggling and you have your corners injury plagued and all those things. I can understand that. My biggest concern is in the second half against Illinois, there needed to be some sort of difference. If they would have still failed and there would have been a difference, at least we would have been able to see that there was some sort of attempt at change. I did not see any attempt. I don't have the well-trained eye for what it's worth, but like I didn't see anything that was notably different. I don't know that you did either.
No, that was my problem.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go to but how would you grade the defensive unit and all that stuff? Like I think it's tough because up front, like through the first 4 games, I would have given high marks for the defensive line and the edges and all those guys. Them not doing anything against Illinois was a major indictment. So they've got to rebound from that to get like an A grade on that again. And like Belk, I feel bad that, Belk and Reed are like with the safeties and the corners and having to deal with situations that are kind of crappy. Like Belk can't have Kamari Ramsey play safety because he needs to play nickel right now. And Reed doesn't have the guys he expected to have because Chasen Johnson got hurt. Alex Graham has been hurt. Prophet Brown has been hurt. DJ Harvey has looked terrible. Like, I sympathize, but also like, again, like you got to figure out something. You got to make a positive step forward. And you hope you see that on Saturday against Michigan. Even if Michigan isn't the biggest test through the air, I think you can see baby steps, right, to set up things before next week and you go play CJ Carr, who will spin the beat. Let's go to an email.
I want to bring up something. I've just been very quickly trying to sort of do a sweep through here of the linebackers, like who is playing well at linebacker this year. So I pulled up PFF and I'm looking at the top linebackers in the country right now, which, in the Big Ten too, Eric Gentry is one of them. But I'm looking through here. Do you know what all of them have in common so far?
Their names start with a J because J's a very popular name.
No, none of them were transfers this year. A lot of them were transfers previous years.
Well, Barham, at Michigan, Barham. He was a transfer last year from Maryland.
Yes, but like it is funny how many of these guys I've been looking through and seeing, like, if they transferred, it was in 2024, and this is year 2. And I think that's the other thing that people need to get. Like, a lot of positions, This is why I actually agreed slightly with, not slightly, I agreed with USC's transfer strategy this year, in that the transfers that they brought in felt like they were doing like what we do in College Football 26, where we're looking through the transfer portal for like redshirt freshmen and redshirt sophomores so that they have eligibility to keep playing, And it sort of does factor into this idea. And Jaden Mayava is a really good example of this too, where I think people expect transfers to come in and be plug and play and ready to go immediately. And the fact is that most transfers don't do that. Some do.
Yeah.
Some are instant successes like Caleb Johnson and Caleb Love and some others. But like, I think for the most part, what we see with transfers is they do better in the second year that they're there than the first. And that is then a failure of USC's coaches the previous year and not this year in terms of the transfers that they did or didn't bring in. But the plus side, the positive, potential, optimistic side here is that if that is the case, if my theory is correct on that, then guys like Zacharias Williams and Jaw Jarrett and Tamir Robinson and Kennedy Urlacher and Chasen Johnson, Kevin Longstreet, like those guys that were brought in as redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores.
Yeah.
Their time was not supposed to be this year. It was always going to be next year. So
can you think of a guy off? And I haven't thought about this, so I don't have like somebody.
Stanley Tuikolovatu.
Yes. Can you think of a guy who transferred to SC and was great in year 2, but not necessarily year 1? Mayava's a shout. But if we're talking defense.
Well, I mean, Mason Cobb was better in year 2 than he was in year 1.
That's a good example. It's change in scheme, but yeah.
Part of the problem is USC has... This is
a lot of seniors, right?
Part of USC's problem is about the transfers that they did do is that they were getting one and done seniors.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anthony Lucas did take a little bit of a step forward in year 2.
He was
but
much
did
better.
Get hurt.
Yes.
So it's hard to say.
Kamari Ramsey, I guess, is the exception. I think Kamari Ramsey was great immediately, and because of the position change, we assume he's not been as good in year 2. But that feels like we have a really solid reason for that.
Ramsey's year 1 is his year 2, though.
That's
because he was with
Danton Lynn. It was year 2 in Danton Lynn's system. That's correct.
Yes.
That is correct. Good point there.
I'm scrolling through the roster and I can't think of anything.
Jacoby Jacoby was a recruit. What receivers have been transfers? I mean, the running backs have all hit the ground running in year 1.
Yeah, I don't know. If you got ones, email us, radiotroy@fanside.com.
Emmanuel Pregnon, way better in year 2 than he was in year 1, but we've been establishing that on the offensive line. But I think I've known that on the offensive line for a while. I think I'm starting to spread it to more positions. There are positions where there is a clear differentiation. Running back, I think corner, you should be able to just plug straight in and be good.
I think it's, you know what it is? It's the positions, and this is my dumb football IQ talking. The positions where you
can operate as an individual.
You can, yes, essentially, like you're in man-to-man combat, or they're skill positions where like you're on the front foot, right? Like a corner is reacting to everything, but like the change in scheme for a corner is not the change in scheme it is for a safety or a linebacker. Mm-hmm. The difference is with the offensive line, but the offensive line, you have to have chemistry with everyone else around you. But your ball carriers just get an assignment and they can do those assignments. You know? Like
their goal is just find the hole wherever the hole is. Yeah. They don't have to have familiarity with the offensive line in front of them. They just need to know where the hole is. It's
not the same. Yeah. Obviously the familiarity is a factor, but yes.
Yeah.
Quarterback, you absolutely benefit from more time. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's go to next email, which comes from King No Football Reason. I love that. Great name. Long time listener. Really appreciate your honest reactions from a fan perspective. They help me realize I'm not totally crazy and that others are feeling the same way. After watching UCLA beat Penn State, it got me wondering, who would you rather root for and which team do you wish USC was more like? Would you rather be a team like Penn State that mostly beats teams that they should, but never beats a team that is a little bit better than them? Or would you rather be like UCLA that underperforms, but occasionally pulls off bigger upsets like we saw last week against LSU, or against Penn State or against LSU years previous? It seems like USC is the worst of both lately. Mostly chalk, playing good teams through, but not enough to win, and also has some head-scratching losses. I'd like to think that that if I'm going to lose and feel the joy of an upset rather than the constant frustration. Fight on, King, no football reason. I think it's a good question.
Yes, it's an interesting question. Here's the problem. We are close friends with UCLA fans. They have not been having a good time.
The joy that they get from this, I don't think
they've gotten a week of joy.
Yes.
From this. We have seen many, 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 many weeks of misery for them.
Yes.
And we ourselves have been miserable at USC. But ironically, if I'm using that correctly, I'm probably not. Funnily enough, whatever it is, I am the biggest James Franklin hater out there. I have said every time USC has had an opening and he's been mentioned as a potential, I've said, please God, no.
But you still have way more happiness than
But the fact is, if you asked me which would I rather be, the consistent but loses those big games, or the team that is constantly just up and down and just not, has tons of head scratching losses and all that.
Yeah.
Give me the Penn State life as far as like my day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year living.
Yes.
Because at least most of the time you're not miserable.
Would you rather be Oregon, which is at this point perennial national championship contender,
always the bridesmaid, never the bride,
constantly in the top 3 or 4 of the polls, great at the transfer portal, that nobody cares more than them and Collars and Feinbaum, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have the backing of Phil Knight and all that stuff, but you have no championships to show for it. Or would you rather be LSU, who is capable of having the dominant season every now and then, but is probably frustrating and want to pull your hair out every other year? But they're going to win national titles.
See, that's the thing, though.
Once every 10 to 15 years.
I think that the answer for me is always like whichever version gets me a national title makes me not have to wait much longer than a decade to taste the national title. Because like that's the thing is the glow of a national title lingers for like a decade.
Sure.
So the glow of USC's 2004 national title like was still well warming me through the 2013 season.
Sure.
Sanctions and all.
No,
we're just way too far out from it now. So yeah, give me LSU in that front. Like give me 2003, 2007, and 2009 with a whole lot of like chaos in between. I can live with, especially LSU's brand of chaos, because there's a difference between LSU's brand of chaos, which is like 9-3 chaos, and like Nebraska's chaos or Auburn's chaos, which is just like full-on misery.
Auburn was going to be my other pick. I think
because Auburn is an even better example of that. Like they pop up with a national title.
Auburn's
and you're like,
the good version of UCLA in this instance.
Yeah.
Because when Auburn has highs, their highs are so freaking high.
Yeah.
You have the kick six. There will be that year where it's come November and everyone's like, have you looked at the Auburn doomsday scenario? Like, if they beat Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, they'll be undefeated in the SEC and they can win the championship. But then you realize that they would have to do those things. And every now and then they will randomly do those things with the help of a couple miracle plays. And they end up in a national championship game and leading until there's 13 seconds to go in the game. And then Kelvin Benjamin wins a fade in the end zone. South end zone of the Rose Bowl against you. But They did win that time in 2010, so sure.
But it's not like, I think the big difference for me, like LSU has won 3 titles this century.
Yes.
Which is a big difference to,
Yes.
Just getting one randomly.
SC has won 2 in 47 years.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Like you could
Better than Notre Dame's, but
Is it? When was their previous before 88? They had to win one in the 70s, right? Did they? Why am I drawing blanks?
I'm pulling it up. Okay, let's
but
see. Their last title was 88.
The straight drought is
Before
88.
that was 77.
77. Okay, so basically the same thing. 2 in 50 years, basically,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah, but I'd rather have USC's where it's only been 20 years since USC's title versus 40.
No, I agree. Yes. I will say that 20 years versus 40 years is the same thing, though, in a lot of instances. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, there's no more warmth from that thing
Yeah.
anymore,
Jake has a good point. USC's has highest highs, and our lows are not that low. I do think it is important to recognize, and I've been saying this for a long time now, that relative to the lows of other programs that could be categorized as blue bloods, USC's lows this century, certainly, maybe the 90s are a different question, but USC's lows this century are not even close to the lows of other teams that are in that manner. Like,
what I think is a really good example of this? Washington.
Yeah.
Since SC won a national championship, Washington has had to fire a coach because he touched a player. They went 0-12. They had a long drought against their rival that they dominated throughout the history of time, and suddenly then couldn't beat them at all in Oregon. But they've also gone to the playoff multiple times. They went to a national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should have won a Heisman with Penix.
Yeah, they've had pretty high highs, but also again,
they've had higher highs than SC and lower lows.
USC's lows are a 4-8 season with a true freshman quarterback who should have been in high school, which it was bad, but also I think I think that season was very
the opposite of Jimmy Clausen, by the way.
Yes, who should have been in college for 5 years before he got there.
Yeah, he had his AARP card along with his Notre Dame student.
I feel like 2018 was easy enough to just sort of write off as terrible, and sort of just this is for next, this is about next year or whatever. 2021 was miserable, but the coaching change made us able to just say, screw it, whatever. 2021 it doesn't really matter in the end either. Mm-hmm. I think 2024 was so frustrating because, it was the first time that USC was losing that number of games with a team that we couldn't necessarily write off as it's just, looking to next year, at least not as much. So, but even then, that's still way better than most teams, 5th worst season of the last 20 years.
Yeah. We got a YouTube comment in the chat earlier from Demina that says, hypothetical, if and when Lincoln Riley gets canned, how would we feel about Deion Sanders as our head coach? He would definitely bring back some flair to the program for better or worse. LOL. He recruits well.
That's a no for me, dog.
You know how our friends over the What's Bruins show canceled their show because they went 0-4? They brought it back because they beat Penn State, but canceled their show because they went 0-4. I will sit here and definitively say, we will no longer do the podcast if Deion Sanders is the head coach.
I think that I might be tempted to call that hyperbole, but I won't because I actually agree. I don't know that I want that smoke.
I'm trying to think of James Franklin. You take over.
Oh, okay,
over
no,
yes.
The podcast's gone if we get James Franklin. No, thank you. I'm out.
James Franklin, way better.
I'm out. Nope, I can't.
Think Jack Del Rio, I would take over.
I would be miserable. No one would enjoy me having to live through James Franklin.
I'm debating Coach O over. over
yeah,
Dion.
again, and Coach O.
I mean, both of those, I think we'd have to cancel the podcast.
Yeah.
But
okay, here's the problem with Deion Sanders. Number one, a practical problem.
Matt from Eugene, Belichick or Dion, you have to choose one.
God,
What year is it?
crazily enough, I'll take Dion because at least Dion has likable moments. At least Dion can be funny sometimes in earnest, even though he's too much. But I cannot do Belichick and Jordan Hudson. I cannot do that experience. I can't. I cannot. But to answer the question properly, Deion Sanders has now had multiple health issues over the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. I think we've seen that he had that flash with with Shadur as his quarterback and with Travis Hunter a generational talent. But I think that he's having a hard time building a program there. I think that his shtick probably wears thin after a little while. And it just wouldn't be a good long-term. USC needs to find a stable head coach, and I don't think that, for a multitude of reasons, I don't think that Deion Sanders is that guy.
Yeah. Jake says Tosh Lupoy. Okay. Is Tosh Lupoy... He's still just Ogeron with the creepier smile, right? Are we actually considering him to be a real defensive coordinator? Matt from Eugene can chime in here. He says Lupoy is a career coordinator. Is he?
I mean, he is a career assistant coach.
Kennedy Palomalu was USC's offensive coordinator by title.
Jake says you don't think Lupoy could be a head coach. I'm not saying he couldn't be.
I don't see it.
I think I would rather.
First of all, he would have been a head coach already.
This is true, yes, but I would rather roll the dice on Tosh Lupoy than any of the names that other people have thrown into the chat, i.e., Deion Sanders, Bill Belichick, Ed Orgeron.
I agree with that statement. Yes.
Now, granted, I think Urban Meyer back in college would not be the disaster that he was with the Jags. Of all of those names that are not real.
For football reasons, Urban Meyer's a great hire.
Yes.
For every other possible scenario that involves
everyone else that they've discussed have almost worse of the everything else but football question.
Yeah. Kenny says Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald would be
Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins.
Yeah. Sorry, not
here.
Actually, Mike McDonald.
Kenny, I'm not going to lie. I don't think that Mike McDaniel would be a terrible hire for a college football program, but I do think Mike McDaniel would be a terrible hire for USC in the aftermath of Lincoln Riley because you're just running it back.
McDaniel has the Dillingham thing of when you're winning, the stick is so cute.
Yes.
It's so cute. When you're losing, can you imagine the P after a press conference in which he's making some sort of joke 3 days after SC loses on the road at Rutgers? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't see it in that instance.
Lamont says, I can't think of his name, but the coach at BYU would be good at USC or get the coach from Indiana. If you could get me Curt Cignetti today, I pull that trigger right now.
I have one issue with Curt Cignetti. One issue. And I'm going to be an asshole here. It's his age.
He is kind of old, yeah.
He's 64.
Yeah.
Mind you, he's not Nick Saban 73. He does seem spry for a 60, whatever he is. But everything else checks a lot of the boxes. The other issue is, and we've talked about this on Discord, one of our buddies is Kyle, who's a big Indiana fan. Did he go to Indiana, I think? He talked about how Cignetti would never work at a major school, and I fully agree. I fully agree with that.
Sure.
It's, to me, Cignetti at a blue blood is Urban Meyer with the Jags. Of a level
think he thrives off of being maybe not the underdog, but the doubted.
no, I don't know about that. More so, like, is SC the athletic department? Like, they had to cede a lot of power to Lincoln Riley, right? I feel like Cignetti would be worse, strictly because he is going to hold you even more accountable to any of the, like, in other words, he seems like a drill instructor. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a great thing for winning football games. I worry about, and I'm not saying that SC doesn't need this culture, because I think that they absolutely could use this culture change. But like, I can't see it working in a school with, in the sense, like,
Matt from Eugene makes a good point. Cignetti might be Kyle Whittingham.
He might be. Like, Indiana's such a good spot for him too, because he can, I'm not going to say play the underdog card, but like you can be they don't respect this guy at Indiana and drop 70 on people, and like that's awesome.
Here's the problem though, like, the fact of the matter is, if he is the Whittingham, like, they're the same age essentially, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that USC made a massive mistake like 10 years ago, not just hiring Whittingham.
Here's a question. Can you think of a Whittingham that got a Power 5 job? Or not a Power 5, a major program job. Blue blood type job. The only one I can think of off the dome is Mike Riley going to Nebraska.
And that was a disaster.
Disaster. But can you think of like that type of guy, with like someone he's a great coach, really good coach, legitimately great, but like is so good at a place that's capped? Like, I would love to know.
Riley wasn't as good at Oregon
Ferentz
State as Whittingham's been at Utah.
What if Ferentz replaced Lloyd Carr at Michigan? Like,
yeah.
I don't. It would have been a bad idea. I mean, Rich Rod was a bad idea
brings
too.
Up the ultimate example is Chris Peterson at UW.
He still went to the playoff.
Yeah, that's my point. Like,
yeah,
he was a long time at Boise State, very successful. Went to UW and was very successful because he's a very good head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could say Scott Frost at Nebraska too. I guess.
Good
God. Yeah. All right, last email here from Mike in Bellevue, Washington.
Chris Peterson is younger than both Cignetti and Whittingham, by the way.
Lamont says Rich Rod going to Michigan. I think Rich Rod going to Michigan is aged that way, of being the capped school guy. But at the time, I do think that like Rich Rod going to Michigan, at the time, the issue more than it, like, he was the hot coach. He was Chip Kelly.
He's more like Matt
before
Campbell,
Chip Kelly,
though, because like he was at West Virginia for a while.
Yes.
But like we're talking like 7 years.
He failed at Michigan because the scheme was so drastically different than what Michigan had.
Yeah, but like it's different being at West Virginia for a handful of years over Whittingham being at Utah for 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I hope he's successful back at West Virginia. Yeah, Rich Rod, questionable as a human being, I think. But there's been weird scandals, right? I think.
I don't know.
Not as bad as like Hugh Freeze or Ogeron or whatever, but I think there's something. All right. Email from Mike in Bellevue, Washington. Michael, I see you wincing and grimacing every time BADGER barks in the background. Don't stress. We can still hear everything you guys are saying, and he's just adding his color commentary. He's a good boy. Be patient with him. He's still only a puppy. But beware, my dog still barks like that, and she's 14 human years old. Bark on. Sylvie's dad, Mike in Bellevue, Washington.
I just took a picture of the current state of Badger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if folks can see that. This is his.
Is that a toy?
Yes, that's a toy.
Okay.
His favorite thing is to lay with his legs propped up against that wall.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the most strange positions.
Yeah.
But he did whine a little bit earlier because I wasn't giving him the treats that I had on my desk. But he's been a good puppy today.
I agree. I should not be as harsh with Badger. My
But
biggest.
you are the audio czar, and you you cringe.
Yeah, Damina says you guys live together. Yeah, I think we do.
We're
What can I throw over there? Here's a napkin.
You don't have any Starburst? Oh God. Our desks are facing each other, and we have Starburst from like Halloween candy right now. And his favorite Starbursts are yellow and orange, and my favorite Starbursts are red and pink.
I do love the pink. I love everything but red.
That's true. So when I open the little Starburst thing and I get yellows or oranges, I throw them over top to him, and when he gets reds, he throws them over to me.
It's like, all right, incoming. Here it goes, incoming.
Yeah.
Oh, you were supposed to catch that.
Oh, what did you throw?
Post-its.
Oh. Well, you woke up, Badger, so good job.
I hit him in the head. That's not good.
Yeah.
Yellow. People are mad that I like yellow and orange. Yellow, orange, and pink are great.
That's what I said.
Red is ass.
The hierarchy of Starburst is pink, red, orange, yellow. See, everyone agrees with me.
Disagree. Red is god awful. But to go back to Sylvie's dad's email here, yes, I probably should give Badger more benefit of the doubt. I worry so much about our audio quality. I worry so much about pissing people off.
And we've gotten comments.
And we've gotten a lot. We've gotten really way more comments. Like frustrated that
we have got no. We have gotten an equal number of comments from people frustrated about the dog and people saying, "Hey, chill out, it's okay."
I think there's more frustrated.
No, we have gotten more comments. We have gotten the same number of comments on both sides. You just fixate on the more negative ones, like we all do, because we're human.
We got a comment yesterday about this, and someone was very frustrated and said it was unprofessional. And like, I agree. I thoroughly agree. This is why I wince when Badger barks, like, because like we're trying things so hard, guys. When we go into this view right here, hold on. This one where it's just Alicia, or this one when it's just me. You know what that's code for? That is code for the other one of us is dealing with BADGER and like not trying to be like trying to settle things. But like, so yes, we're failing at it, but we're trying so freaking hard. We've tried literally everything in the book. Every suggestion that we've gotten.
Well, okay.
We've tried, literally.
Today's was working beautifully until you ruined it right before we started recording.
Oh, okay.
And then we had a little bit of a hiccup early, but then it did work eventually. Yeah. The plan was, because here's the thing. Badger, the reason he barks during the episodes, he is not barking at something outside. He is barking at Jesse because Jesse won't play with him. This is his biggest issue. Jesse will not play with him, and so he throws a tantrum, which involves barking and whining and screaming. So what we figured out is, or what we decided to try was, the dogs like to like lay behind us in our little like desk nooks. And so what we figured out is if Badger can't see Jessie, then he can't bark at her. So before we start recording the episode, we're going to have Badger come over to me and have him lay in his little spot here, and then have Jessie go with Michael. And we've got a little gate that runs across the room because we don't want them chewing on our cables and stuff like that unsupervised. And so, We don't want Badger chewing on our cables unsupervised. Yeah. And so we sort of closed up the gates so they can't leave. They have to stay in our side.
But they can't see each other.
They can't see each other.
I think they can see each other down below.
But he can't try to play with her.
But it's not this. Yes, it's a mostly blocked.
We were all set up. It was going beautifully. Badger had settled down. He had laid down, and then what did don't recreate it.
I'm
Michael,
not recreating it.
But
I'm wearing a sweatshirt with a big pouch, right? And so in the pouch is a bunch of dehydrated liver dog treats
from Costco. Amazing. If you have a dog, get them.
Those are great. They taste so good. I don't actually know. I wouldn't try.
High
the liver
value.
sounds horrible. Anyways, and so I was just like randomly giving some to Jessie, but she was on the side I didn't want her to be on. She was on my right side. I wanted to be on the left side. So I'm trying to. That's the crib side. I was trying to get her to come over here, and like right now I'm reaching down trying to hand it to her, and she doesn't even see it. I don't know where she is. Oh, she's down literally on the ground. Anyways, so I was trying to get her attention that, no, I'm trying to get you this thing on the left side, so that I put my knuckle and I tap the wall, like tap, tap, like, hey, look over here. I did that literally right before we were about to hit
Rookie
stream.
Mistake.
And Badger was like, somebody's knocking at the door?
Jesse was too. Both of them thought it was a knock at the door.
But luckily,
so then he got all worked up, and then I had to go take them to the front door to show them that there was no one at the door. And then they came back, and when we came back, like Badger realized that I had treats on my desk, and so then he was willing to stay over here, but he was not happy when I stopped feeding him treats. So, but once he settled down and laid down, he's been sleeping the whole time, and he's been good.
Yeah. Jose says they just want camera time. All right, let's wrap this thing up. But like, Alicia, pick up your tripod and like
show Badger.
Be the cameraman.
Badger some Badger
She
time.
can't see the camera, so I'm gonna have to tell
Badger,
her where to move it.
Okay, hold on. Sit.
Let's see how this works.
Oh. Say hi to the people.
Down to the left. Down. Up. There. Maybe down a little bit more. Up to the left. There we go. Now it's just all Badger face.
Yeah, all Badger face.
It's all Badger face. Yeah. Yeah. And then all those marks on the wall is him just like absolutely
scratching or chewing. He's literally chewed out a piece of the wall.
Yeah, don't tell our landlord. Yeah. All right. We'll be back Saturday. Watch along with Alicia during the USC Michigan game. And CarCast on Saturday night after the game as well. So until then, we will see you. Make sure you do your picks and over-under and all that kind of stuff. I have said see ya, and now Jessie has sprung to action. She knows that means the podcast is over. So, all right, until next time, we'll see you.
See ya.
See ya. Go Cubs.
Did they win?